In the quiet town of Stonebridge, where generations of families had lived by unwritten rules, a new kind of power was about to take the stage. It didn't arrive in a motorcade or with a fanfare of trumpets. It arrived in a quiet hybrid SUV on a crisp autumn morning. Stepping out, with a grace that belied the monumental task ahead, was Maya Vance, a civil rights lawyer with a reputation for dismantling corrupt systems. She was now the newly elected mayor of Stonebridge, the first black woman to ever hold the office. Her inaugural act wasn't symbolic ribbon cutting or a grand speech. It was a simple walk to City Hall, a statement of intent that she was here to work, not to perform. Her platform was a direct challenge to the town's comfortable status quo: public safety reform, transparent governance, and real, verifiable accountability. She believed in the law, not just in its enforcement, but in its impartial application to everyone, including those who wore the badge. She had barely made it 10 paces towards the grand marble staircase when a voice, sharp and laced with suspicion, sliced through the morning calm. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" A tall, uniformed officer, with a stiff posture and a condescending smirk, blocked her path. "I have business inside," Maya replied, her tone a calm counterpoint to his aggression. "Identification?" he barked, looking her over with open disdain. "You look out of place." The words hung in the air, a familiar insult cloaked in a false concern for security. Before she could utter another word, his hands were on her wrist, a rough, unapologetic grip. "Turn around," he commanded. "You're being detained." The scene unfolded in surreal, horrifying slow motion. A newly elected official was being manhandled against a police car by the very person she was now tasked with overseeing. People on the street froze, some pulling out their phones, others turning away in discomfort, but no one stepped in. What Officer Miller couldn't have known was that his act of intimidation was not a random encounter. It was a meticulously planned mistake. The woman he was cuffing wasn't an interloper. She was his boss. Just as the squad car began to pull away, a City Hall aide came sprinting out, his face a mask of panic. "That's the mayor. You just arrested the mayor." But it was too late. Inside the squad car, Maya Vance wasn't panicking. She was calculating. Power, she knew, didn't always have a shout. Sometimes it waited for the perfect moment to redefine the rules entirely. Stonebridge had long been a town of quiet illusions. White picket fences and Sunday church bells hid a deeper reality, a social fabric woven with unspoken rules and systemic biases. Everyone knew who got a pass and who was pulled over for a random check. It was a town where Maya, a brilliant legal mind who had graduated magna cum laude from a top law school, was still seen by some as a kid from the South Side, the neighborhood with flickering streetlights and crumbling playgrounds. Her journey from there to the mayor's office was a testament to her unshakable will, and her return was not about nostalgia. It was about unfinished business. Her campaign had been brutal. Opponents, a group of local businessmen and a retired police captain, had called her too radical, too young, and too loud. But what truly unnerved them was her clarity. She didn't just call for reform. She presented detailed plans, backed by statistics and case studies. She won by less than 3%, a victory that sent shockwaves through the town's establishment. For the first time, a black woman born in the neighborhood people used to avoid was at the head of local government. Victory, however, didn't mean acceptance. Anonymous notes arrived at City Hall. Staff avoided eye contact. And the police department, which now technically answered to her, had offered no formal welcome. One officer, Sergeant Miller, stood out. He was a decorated veteran of the force, charismatic, and dangerously confident in his authority. During Maya's first briefing, he never said her name, referring to her only as leadership, while addressing the wall behind her. She noted it quietly, strategically. She hadn't come to be liked. She had come to change things. That's why she had chosen to arrive alone on her first day. No media, no security detail. She wanted to set a tone of ownership and accountability. But clearly, the system she was there to lead hadn't gotten the message. Now, as she sat in the back of the cruiser, her hands cuffed, she understood the fight had just begun. Every camera that had captured the scene, from bystanders to her own, was evidence. This was no longer just about one wrongful arrest. It was about the town's deep-seated resistance to change. The moment word of her arrest reached her campaign manager, Danielle, a crisis protocol was activated. This wasn't just a PR issue, it was a constitutional and political one, and it was about to become a national headline. Meanwhile, at the police station, Maya was led to a processing room. Officer Miller's comments were laced with condescension and a smug sense of victory. Next time, maybe you'll think twice before sneaking around. Maya didn't flinch. "You're lucky I'm not pressing mine yet," she said, looking directly into a wall-mounted surveillance camera. She requested a phone call, not to a lawyer, but to her assistant, to dictate a press statement that would hit the airwaves instantly. Today, her statement read, "The mayor of Stonebridge was unlawfully detained. I will respond with truth. This town deserves better." The public reaction was instantaneous. Within hours, the story was on cable news, and Maya's name was a national hashtag. The police chief, just returning from a conference, was on the phone with the state governor, scrambling for an explanation. The political machine of Stonebridge, which had hoped Maya would be a figurehead, was now forced to confront a reality. She was a strategic, formidable force with public support and moral high ground. Upon her release, Maya didn't linger. She went straight back to City Hall, still in the same blazer. She called an emergency meeting and, without a single wasted moment, requested all body camera footage and initiated contact with every local civil rights group and public integrity organization in the state. She wasn't going to let the truth trickle out. She was going to lead with it. The following day, a special public session was held in the overflowed council chambers. Citizens who had never attended a meeting before packed the room, eager to hear her speak. Maya stood without a podium, her voice steady and clear. "This isn't about me," she began. "This is about what happens when systems forget who they serve." She showed data slides detailing the disproportionate stops of black residents and a history of misconduct complaints that had mysteriously vanished. Then she played the audio clip of Miller's arrest, the one where he said, "You don't belong here." The room went from shocked silence to a roar of collective outrage. The turning point was when a police intern who had witnessed the arrest stepped forward, her voice trembling but her words resolute. "I didn't speak up then, but I am now." It was a damning indictment from inside the very system Maya was challenging. At the session's conclusion, Maya introduced a formal motion to suspend Officer Miller. It passed with an overwhelming majority. The town had finally turned a corner. But Maya knew the real war was deeper. She wasn't just fighting one rogue officer. She was fighting an entire ecosystem built on quiet immunity. She ordered a full internal audit, hiring an outside firm with no ties to Stonebridge. The findings were staggering. A pattern of racial profiling, manipulation of evidence logs, and retaliation against complainants. At the center of it all was Sergeant Miller and a handful of senior officers who had protected him for years. Then came her masterstroke. Maya invited the State Civil Rights Division to conduct a full, independent oversight review. It was a move no mayor in Stonebridge history had ever dared to make. Within days, a team was on the ground, unsealing records and uncovering a deep-seated culture of abuse. Amidst the chaos, Maya held a town hall in the park, without a microphone or security, to face her critics directly. An older man asked her why she was tearing the town apart. Maya's response was simple and honest. "I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm pulling back the curtain so we can fix what's behind it." She spoke of forgiveness without accountability not being justice, but forgetting. Her sincerity, her unshakable moral clarity, began to win over even her staunchest critics. The DOJ's final report was damning. Maya's formal recommendation for the termination of Miller and 3 senior officers passed unanimously. It was not a moment of revenge, but of consequence. In the end, Maya didn't just survive injustice. She exposed it, dismantled it, and rebuilt something better in its place. She transformed Stonebridge from a town defined by its quiet prejudices into a national model for civil rights and aligned governance. She had taught everyone, from the high school students to the young police intern, that one act of courage, one refusal to be silenced, could change everything. Her victory wasn't overpowering them, but in outlasting them. She didn't seek revenge. She sought reform. And in doing so, she changed the very frequency of her town, reminding all who watched that while your presence alone is powerful, your persistence is what makes history.